where does this all connect to, right? There has to be some other side to the trade to be able to fund them with the dollars or the whatever currency that they're making these purchases in. So how does this actually connect to ex Iran countries?
Yep. Yep. So the US government, since, I mean, I would say at least 26, since Trump administration 145, right? They have been going through and trying to map this network. How are they doing it? How do they finance themselves? Who do they involve? Who do they face as counterparties? How do they access international capital markets, right? So this U.S. order, or the American Sovereigntist faction, as we call them, has been going through this process for the last, let's say, 10 years, right? And you can see this if you go to the, there's U.S. government website here. There's rewards, tips up to $15 million to map out this infrastructure, the oil for money trade, front companies engaged in international activity, how the IRGC is transferring funds and materials to its terrorist and militia proxies and partners that are operating, across the Middle East, right? We know Hezbollah as a proxy, the Houthis, right, in Yemen, et cetera. But then also, like, it shows up internationally as well. They're in Venezuela. Like, it's a global, it's a private equity operation that runs globally, right? So the Treasury itself, if you think about the American public sector trying to uh, take on its own accountability and speak for itself here, and this kind of global exercise, uh, it is going after this thing and mapping it out. And what we found out in the last kind of 5 to 10 years, but increasingly accelerating under um, the last year, like since the Trump 47th administration started in 2025, has really been making progress on those results, right? So the noose is tightening as we get closer and closer to this this big historical event, right? That is happening in real time. So I want to roll us back to the first stage in this operation, right? We think about this kind of war starting in February 28th, right? A few weeks ago. I'd argue it's been going on. It's been building to a crescendo for like a decade at least at this point. But even specifically, like the first action in this epoch, I'd say, was June, right, when we bombed the three nuclear development facilities, Fordow, Natanz, et cetera.
Yep.
But also quietly behind the scenes on that standpoint, the headline that went less noticed was this hit on Iran's major crypto exchange, Natixis, I believe. Right? Do I have that name right, Cameron?
Novitex, I think, but yeah.
Novitex.
Yep.
Natixis, this different company, strike that from the record. Novitex. Um, Basically, it was hacked. Just think of this as a military cybersecurity exercise. This was a capital pull away. So you saw Bitcoin, 90 million Bitcoin leave the number one Iranian crypto exchange. So you're pulling out, essentially. Like, think of that as removing the equity layer of your key financial intermediary, and that thing leads to a struggle and a collapse. Right. So that first exercise in June was the opening bid. You're softening up your target. And I think what happened, as we talk about the Bitcoin bear market really starting in August, the Iran action, like, this is such a big development and geopolitical history over the last, and like, think about it in 100-year, 500-year type of terms. The Bitcoin exit liquidity that started with this hack in June, like, that got everybody involved to realize, oh, this is a rush for liquidity. Like, they're coming for us. So they start this process of, um, I guess, arming up, liquefying, getting all the resources they need as they realize, like, oh, it's battle time, man your stations. So that's when the liquidity taking starts, in my mind. Um, and you really start to see what is this Bitcoin drawdown itself is actually like the mirror image that's produced by this geopolitical, the military action in Iran, if that makes sense. They
Yeah.
are they are correlated, they are tied, they are like they are causal of each other,
Right.
right? So step two, you look at March 3rd, 2026, just to stick to the Bitcoin theme, the around crypto outflows and what does everybody care about, right? It's got to be dollar stable coins, but then also Bitcoin, right? Forbes reports around crypto outflows surged 700% as the airstrikes hit Tehran on March 2nd, right? So what's happening? The Bitcoin, stable coins, et cetera, that capital is leaving Iran and you presume like some of that is capital flight, like if you can get across the borders, leave, et cetera. Okay. But
Where does
that
it
wouldn't
go
show
though?
up.
Yeah.
That wouldn't show up on chain, right? If you're just holding private keys, you're walking across the border. That's not a transaction. This is like actual measured transaction. Capital is going outside the borders. You got to assume there's something else coming in, right? Could be arms, resources, humans, et cetera. But it's all part of this process that this big picture thing that's happening, right? So where is it going? January 2026, you saw this is from the U.S. Treasury. Two exchanges, ZSEX and ZCon, two UK registered digital asset exchanges, were designated as IRGC linked digital asset exchanges who were funding these transactions. Where do they trace back? The UK. So you start to see there is this who is the financial partner of who is the counterparty of this private equity paramilitary group we call the IRGC, who is the actual target of this US kind of led military action. Oh my God, it traces back to Europe, right? And it's right out there in the open at this point. See the Guardian article, Lloyd's and Santander accused of providing accounts for Iranian front companies. The second one, this is a blog, London's dirty secret: how stolen regime funds flow through the UK. Third one, over 200 million pounds in London property tied to IRGC individuals. And this includes the headline. We didn't show this one, but Ayatollah Khamenei's son, who has become the new supreme leader, Mujtaba, right? They list this, $200 million mansion in London. So it's starting to look really bad here for Europe, right? The supposed partners in the Western Atlanticist, post-war coalition, and you start to see like where the split is taking place, right? Those two outcomes we talked about uh, that ignore the failed state outcome that I would hope everybody wants to avoid because that's going to be awful
Yeah.
from the human losses standpoint. Um, but you see the status quo pathway where IRGC stays in power. Who would want them to stay in power? Well, they're business partners here. They're other side. They're financial counterparties who are making money off of the existing business of this paramilitary shop taking control more and more of the Iranian economy versus the new guard in town, GIC countries, US, China, et cetera, that is kind of shaping up in real time. You go through here, honing in on the payload here. What does China have involved here? 2021, this is the Belt and Road deals. China pledged up to 400 billions in investment over 25 years for a strategic partnership for the build out of infrastructure in Iran. So this is like getting a hold of resources, oil, gas, et cetera, but also minerals, to continue to build out the kind of the Asian growth economy and a kind of China-led version of those events playing out, which some of these partners may not want to see happen. But you see a graph here cited from the China-Iran fact sheet that's been published by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce as of March 16th. I got the website here. You can go look up, read this report. But essentially, all of the oil out of Iran is going towards China, right? So you see the alignment here. U.S. and China make strange bedfellows here, but you kind of see the way that this shakeout is taking place. Um, you're starting to see which side, and the GCC countries themselves are the key swing player. It looks to me like when you look at the final slide here, um, with the GCC countries poised to join this Iran action, which they kind of already are. Um, what that would look like in the future. It's really just U.S. Or use of military bases on GCC country soil to execute these military operations. That's kind of the bigger picture of what the involvement would look like. But
Right.
they've already had missiles fired at their infrastructure, the South Pars Field in Qatar, for example. All of that, we've seen those headlines. IRGC is, I mean, I mean, baiting them in at this point, right? To bring this event to its head.